Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is D.K. Bhattacharya and we will be talking about man in India and archaeological perspective. One might ask what we have to do with man in India in archaeological discourse. The discourse is archaeological, but we are talking of man in India primarily because we have very little fossil evidence. So we only go by archaeological evidence if at all we have to make a statement about the presence of man in this subcontinent. It is true that Bar Yosef, which is one of the top archaeologists in the world, has repeatedly warned that please don't use archaeology to substantiate the position of prehistoric man, because man is having various shades of his evolutionary features, whereas archaeology cannot reflect the same kind of shapes. But archaeology can be used at least to talk about the presence of man, and what we'll be doing now, we'll be talking about presence of man, if at all, in whatever shapes they are in all parts of India. 2000 AD, a book was published by Kennedy on paleontology of India, and there he talked about, gave a statement, was there only one Adam? Was Adam the only child? And we have, since that, it kind of reflects the kind of objections we have in trying to put the collage of evidences together to make a continuous story. We have always problems. Anyway, since the time of Darwin, people have been hunting for fossils to kind of get the so-called missing link filled, but it still eludes us. Whatever it is, there are evidences that is coming in large number from Africa, and we have to now accept them as a part of the genetic evolutionary tree of man. These evidences are from 4.2 million years, and they are called Australopithecines. Now, the Australopithecines are the Australopithecus ramidus, and then you have Ardipithecus and anamensis. Then you have Sahelanthropus ardensis. Sahelanthropus ardensis came from Central Africa, where you have an evidence of 400 cc cranial capacity of a skull, which is remarkably similar to Australopithecus. And then you have, of course, the Homo habilis coming from 2.2 million years. So it seems to be a simplistic sequence of evolutionary stages from, let's say, Sahelanthropus to Ardipithecus anamensis to Australopithecus ramidus, and of course then to Homo habilis. Now, this kind of developmental sequence is broadly understood as the evolutionary stages that has been demonstrated, and demonstrated in large number in Africa. Let us come to India. Now, in India, we have no such stages demonstrated. We have no Australopithecus, we have no anamensis, we have no Homo habilis. But if you go and see the Shivalik extension in Pakistan, going across in Pakistan, northwest part of India, then you have two sites. One is called Riwat, the other is called Pabi Hills. Both has given a date of 2.2 million years, which compares with Olduvai Gorge of Homo habilis. So 2.2 million years, and some tools have been found. Once you have found tools in 2.2 million years in the gate of India, northwestern gate of India, you have to accept that there was some form of Homo habilis, if not Homo habilis, some Asiatic collateral form of Homo habilis who was making tools. So tools were making by somebody who was there, but we don't have the fossils. We come to India. In India, we find large number of evidences from the Shivalik regions, and we have evidences coming from almost Upper Miocene, which is, say, 16 million years ago. 16 million years ago to 4 million years ago, or 2 million years ago, the entire period, you have large amount of evidences of Gigantopithecus, you have Ramapithecus, you have evidences of Miocene apes in the entire Shivalik region of northeast India. But what happens to these Miocene apes in order to become, let us say, the first hominid is not demonstrable in terms of either tools or in terms of fossils. You look at India, for instance, you have large number of evidence. Incidentally, hand axe makers in the world, I think India is almost one of the largest. Europe is not large. Africa may have large number of hand axe makers, but India is one of the largest. There is hardly any place of India where you don't find hand axes. It is usually accepted that hand axes and cleavers were made by Homo erectus, and Homo erectus is evolved around 1.8 million years ago in Africa. The site is Cheswanja. So if it is 1.8 million years ago, then you have Homo erectus presence in India. If you go by indirect evidence of Handex presence, then you have Handex presence in Rajasthan at a place called Didwana. Date is 800,000. Now you have large amount of Handexes coming from central India, where the date is put to 400,000. You have large amount of Handexes coming from southern India, which has been dated to 1.4 million years in Isampur and 1.5 million years in Atirampakkam. So you have a huge amount of Handexes coming, but you have no Homo erectus, except one evidence that has come from again Narmada, and this is called Hathnora. Now this is a fragment of a calvarium, even though total calvarium is not there. Now this calvarium has been measured by simulating the total reconstruction of the skull, and lo and behold, the cranial capacity is put between 1200 to 1400. Now 1400 cranial capacity cannot be of a Homo erectus. 1400 cranial capacity is of many of the modern races, contemporary races. But then it is anyway reconstructed features on which this estimation was done. But then there are other features, for instance, Bregma Bayesian height. The Bregma Bayesian height compares exactly with the Neanderthals of Europe. So you have a situation, and the supraorbital ridge is almost indistinguishable. So you can't call them Neanderthaloid, you can't call them Pithecanthropoid or Homo erectus. So it seems to be identified by most of the scholars as something which is a early sapien, which is having some archaic traits continuing in it. Early sapien, incidentally, is one of the stages of Homo erectus, which evolves into early sapien and then into full Homo sapiens sapien. That was the traditional belief. So you have an early sapien calvarium from our Hathnora, and then the tools that have been found with it are not really Handexes and cleavers. And then later on, even I have collected material from one of the areas where the deposition of the same material has been found, beautiful Handexes and cleaver. So we have talked about this, and the date of Hathnora is also put to around 600,000 years. So we have a plethora of evidences coming from all over India, including Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and of course Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and everywhere. But there is one thing. If you go to the latitude of 93 east, because 93 east is crossing, let us say, Assam, or let us say the border of Assam. Once you cross 93E, there is no Handex anywhere in the world. You have whole of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, China, Japan, and you have no Handexes. Yet the original find of Homo erectus was from Indonesia, Pithecanthropus. So here is a situation where Bar Yosef is correct, that you cannot link the tool with the taxonomic form. We have Handexes in India, but we don't have Homo erectus. We have Homo erectus in Southeast India, but we don't have Handexes. Another very interesting thing, 11-degree latitude south, if you cross it, that is Chennai, you cross it, there is no Handex in Sri Lanka. Yet Handexes have been found even in Nepal. So you have a scenario where you find a plethora of evidence of beautiful Handexes coming from all over India, but there is no Homo erectus. So shall we say that if we try to look at the peopling of India, by indirect evidence in the absence of fossils, we'll welcome fossils, but there is no hard evidence coming. So in the absence of fossils, if we have to say that man entered India somewhere between 1.5 to 1.8 million years ago from the western border, and he brought Handex and cleaver, obviously he must have been a Homo erectus. So if you go by the peopling of India on the indirect evidence, then you have to accept that man had come from northwest India. And of course we have the evidence of Pabi Hills and Riwat, and then we have Dina and Jalalpur in Pakistan again, where we have Handexes, and the date is 600,000. So it seems to have a continuity of technological evolution of the stone tools, but that's not attested by taxonomic evolution of fossils. So this is a scenario which we have to accept in the absence of fossils. Then the beginning of Homo erectus, from Homo erectus evolves into Homo sapien. Now this Homo sapiens sapien is used, we use a different word today, and we call it anatomically modern Homo sapien, AMHS. AMHS is the term we use because otherwise modern man is a confusing word. Now, if you try to say who are the modern men, there are two models. One model, of course, was given long back, I think in 1960s, by Madame de Lumble, and that was called the multi-regional theory of evolution. When the multi-regional theory of evolution says Homo erectus evolved in Africa, and after Homo erectus evolved in Africa, it started spreading. It spread to Europe, and what it formed in Europe is called Homo erectus europeanus. And it went to, let us say, Asia, and it formed what is called Homo erectus asianus. And of course, what was there in Africa is Homo erectus africanus. Now, here is a situation which is a very dangerous comment. There are 2 points which goes against multi-regionalism. One point is that you cannot have the same species evolving identically in 3 different parts of the world independently. That defies genetics. It can't be the same species developing everywhere. So Homo sapiens sapien cannot be identically developing everywhere. The other point is very dangerous. I call it mother of racism. Mother of racism, because if you accept this, then you have to accept that the common ancestor of Europeans, Africans and Asians is 1 million year old. That's too far down in South. So we are separate. This is exactly what Hitler did in his Nazi period. Our common ancestor is way down in the chimpanzees. We don't have a common ancestor. That means we are different. Now this is mother of racism, and this is not tolerable, and besides, genetically also, this was not acceptable. So we have an alternate theory coming. Of course, it is not attested by hard evidence. The alternate theory came from molecular biology, and this is called mitochondrial DNA analysis. And of course, the nickname is out of Africa, Eve, African Eve model, and so on, because it is inherited in the female line. This mitochondrial DNA is the haplogroup, haplotype M of the genealogy of the haplogroup L3, was taken as one which has been migrating from northeast Africa, fixed around 60,000 years ago. And 60,000 years ago, it migrated. This is the upper Homo sapiens sapien, evolved in East Africa, let us say in Ethiopia, and from there it migrated one group which came from the Horn of Africa, that is Somalia, through Arabia into Asia. Another group crossed through Sinai into north and went to Asia and Europe. Good enough. And this group came. What is the problem about this mitochondrial DNA analysis is this, that it proposes that this group, anatomically modern man, came, wherever it came, it obliterated the pre-existing races. And the pre-existing races in most of the Asia was Homo erectus. Homo erectus or early sapien, if I take Hathnora, early sapien. So you have a pre-existing large population spread all over India, almost all over India. And it says